sure, there is another side to it, but generally speaking, it is indicative of a lot of things I think that's been going on, or certainly the way we feel it's been going on this year, and probably has been that way for a while. I think, as I said, Jennifer, it's just the fact that the team haven't been doing well. The Clan were, as a entity, were very slow during the summer. Now, we don't know the reasons. I suspect they probably offered the job to a few different people who maybe didn't want it, and that's why it took so long. And they couldn't do a deal with other people. If it was the fact that John Tripp was the number one choice that took us all that time to sign him, then that is a fault. That is a grave error in judgment, in my opinion. But the fact that we're so long into the season, and we keep hearing this rebuilding. I didn't hear us getting a rebuilding discount on our season tickets. When we were selling season tickets, we were challenging for the league, weren't we?
Now we're kind of hoping to make sure we get a playoff spot. You couldn't be any more underwhelmed. I mean, obviously there are some off-ice things that you're starting to kind of see coming back. We've got midweek questions coming out, and you're starting to see school visits happening and stuff like that. So obviously the club are now starting to put a little bit of effort. But my only concern is it too little too late? Yeah,
only time's going to tell. But I think some people maybe misjudge what we're talking about and why we're talking about things we're talking about. We're talking about it as, I talk about it as I see it. If I don't like the look at something, I'll say, but we'll always be first to stick our hands up and say we don't have all the information. We can only go on what we know and what we perceive to be. But, at the end of the day, all three of us, including Graham when he's here, and Stephanie in the background, and anybody else that's associated with the podcast, we all want the club to do well. And, if we're seeing it's not doing well, if it's fans and it's paying customers, we've got a right to call it out. I've changed my tune a lot. I was always a defender of the club for years, and then they could do no wrong in my eyes, but, it's just not that way anymore, certainly for me. So let's hope we go onwards and upwards, and things can improve, and we don't make these same mistakes again next year, yeah?
If we make the same mistakes next year, I'll be even grumpier. It's just
is that possible?
I don't know, and I don't want to find out.
Another sort of major thing for me that stuck out this last week was not so much J Rosehill getting banned as such, but the wording of the press release was very, I don't know, I don't want to say unprofessional. I don't know if it did come, I mean, when I saw it at first, it was via a Twitter link that somebody had put on, and when I first read it, I thought, somebody's at the wind-up here, somebody's kind of making this look as if it's on the official website, and it wasn't until I actually got home later on that night I realised that, no, that's the actual wording. I take it, have you two seen this?
Yeah, it's actually hilarious. Do you know what, I'm obviously a huge fan of the New Dops, and I've been quite vocal on Twitter and other places saying how much I love how detailed, because you can't actually, there basically any decisions that's now been made has been absolutely justified. But honestly, it was quite really funny what they said about J Rosehill. And if that wasn't icing in the cake, did he not miss his flight or something like that on the way home?
I have no idea about that. Well, here's an example, Stephen. Considering the score is 9-2 at the time, Rosehill took it upon himself to think he is something bigger than the game. Do you not think that's just going a wee bit too far?
Sure, Paddy Smith didn't write it. I don't know. It's it does seem like a Belfast fan wrote it anyway. It's just
it certainly wasn't a Manchester fan. That's
not at all. It was a strange one, and someone pointed out if someone, it looked like maybe someone whose first language isn't English might have been using a pretty poor translator or something like that to try and get their point across. I don't know. It was bad anyway. Whatever the reason for it, wasn't the best way to go about the situation, But what's done is done. I can't believe after weeks, the last few weeks of praising Dops, we're back to what are they thinking again. But at least it's not for poor bands, and it's just for poor wording. I suppose that's a...
See, I don't think... I get the impression that Jennifer just thinks it's good. I'm not... It's your opinion. I get the impression that you think it's a good thing.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Because like you sometimes get people saying, oh, but they did this in that game. Do you know what I mean? They're actually giving you like full, detailed, in-depth, and even down to how a player's positioning like their body when like somebody's skating into them and stuff. Like these are all like the details you probably don't actually pick up when you're watching. But obviously whoever's now doing the dops is actually really, really, really detailed with the game. So no, I absolutely love it.
See, I don't have a problem with them describing that. It's when they come out with, well, one of the quotes I just said, and where's the other one? Rosehill needs to control his emotions, which is kind of borderline. If he feels the score is a determining factor to lead to such actions, in other words, just because he's getting beat, sometimes known as sending a message. Well, we all know there's sending a message in hockey. It's been going on for years. Rosehill needs to learn to control his emotions and refrain from the old school tactics in the modern game. To me, that's just going too far. That's really putting the guy down in public, in a public forum. Do you know, anybody that's got that type of player in their team, be it a Brian McGrattan, be it a Jay Rosehill, you know, going back to Fitzy, anybody, they all know that that's what they're there to do. Are we really saying now, Jen, that sending a message is no longer a viable tactic? Are we really saying that? And should it be dops that are resorting to kind of slagging a player off in their summary?
Are they slagging a player off, or are they actually trying?
If I was Jay Rosehill, I'd be pretty pissed off. Yeah.
I see what Jen's saying, but I don't think you can defend it when there's a quote saying that he's gutless. It's like that word was used at one point. You know what he did? Dumb. I've seen Jay Rosehill play like that for years for Toronto and Philly in the NHL. You see moments like this from him, but the use of some words is just you're sitting reading it and going, what's going on?
Right. So Jennifer, I take it. Would you like to see them continuing in this vein with calling players out like that? Yeah.
To an extent, yes.
As long as they keep doing it with its Sheffield players and
as long as it's consistent,
players.
As long as it's consistent. And I think now that obviously we've got a guy who is completely and utterly unconnected to the league in any way whatsoever, he's obviously watching as a complete neutral, whereas in previous it's somebody who has a bit of knowledge, whereas the guy who's now looking at it, he doesn't know anything about who likes who doesn't like who, what team's good and what team isn't. He's just looking at it for the hockey that's in front of him. So I'm all for it.
Do we really know though if that's who's actually written this? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, at the end of the day, we've got somebody in the panel that likes the style of it, and a couple of us who are thinking that maybe just went a bit too far with the kind of personal attacks. I think, and I think as well. I think you need to bear in mind that if players see things like that, where they're going to come to this league and get slated in that way, it's maybe not going to attract players, and that's the kind of players, in many ways, that the league's been able to get over. The guys with the good resumes in terms of NHL appearances, but have maybe kind of slunk out the game because the role that they performed in the NHL is no longer required. So I don't know. I don't know if it's just, to me, it's still a bridge too far. And it's just one of these things. But yeah, it was funny reading it, but I don't know for the longevity of keeping it going like that. But yeah, we'll see. Finally, we're just going to go through, we'll call it the mailbag, but it's really the Twitter feed. We put a wee tweet just saying whatever they thought about their long lost 4-point weekend. One of our sponsor, Cali York, was one of the first to respond, saying he's been very impressed with Tyler Schofield's speed and finishing, having at last found a replacement for Scott Pitt. I think, Stephen, in terms of scoring, we might have found a replacement for Pitt, but I don't know if he's kind of the same type of player or not.
I think he's more of a playmaker as well, Schofield. Don't get me wrong, he's an excellent player. I think at the Q&A with Tripp and Paul Gardner at the beginning of the season, they both said that when he's in and ready to go, he'll be one of the better players in the team. And he certainly seems to be living up to that billing just now. He's fast, he's got great vision, and he can find the net. And he's scored some, I think, 3 game-winning goals for us. Did he score at the weekend against Milton Keynes as well?
Yeah.
So he's definitely doing a job just now, and he's really carrying the team in his back a wee bit just now, which is just as well. God knows where he'd be. But yeah, I think you're right though. I wouldn't say he's a comparison in style of play to Pitt so much, but he is a game winner like Pitt was for us. So long may it continue.
Yeah, I mean, Jane, for me, Tyler Schofield seems a lot more comfortable with the puck on his stick. I mean, he's moving. He can create chances for himself. I'm not saying Scott Pitt couldn't, but I think he's more natural doing that, whereas Scott Pitt was more of a sniper. He was more of a guy who, if you got the pass to him in the right place at the right time, at the right speed, he would finish it for you. Although he could create his own chances, just wasn't as prolific, I think, in that sense as Tyler Schofield. What's your reading between two players?
No, you hit the nail on the head that Schofield is a playmaker, and we just need a sniper alongside him. So,
but yeah, his production is certainly not up there with Scott Pitt. So in terms of that, yeah, we found a replacement for his finishing. Yeah, absolutely no doubt about that. I don't think Schofield's quite a two-way player that Scott Pitt was either. Scott Pitt, for me, Stephen, was very, very underrated when it came to his defence, wasn't
he? Last season, yeah. When he first came over, not so much. I think he was... not that I hold that against him, because not everyone's a two-way player. You know, you need your sort of Alex Ovechkin types who are going to just score goals for you and create. But yeah, like him and Levitt were very suspect getting back in the first couple of seasons that we were. But you know, he got into it. Even last season, he started throwing himself about a wee bit. So yeah, it's a player I miss still, because he was fantastic for us in Pitt. But it's time for new heroes, I suppose. And Schofield looks to be heading towards that way anyway.
Well, even if we're kind of really early doors now, and you know, there's no telling what's going to happen between now and the end of the season, Jen. But if you're thinking now, I mean, what out of the guys we have just now, if we're assuming that John Tripp's going to come back next year and there's a bit of continuity, Tyler Schofield's going to be one of these guys you're going to want to have back so far, isn't he?
Without a doubt, yeah. No, he has impressed. He has impressed. But I think with the team that we've got so far, we still haven't seen the best of them. Like, every player's had bad games and been quiet in games, so we just kind of need to get them to start being a bit more consistent.
Okay. Moving on, Carnet Clan Fan 12. Long may it continue. That's the 4-point weekends. Games and atmosphere still very flat, but huge improvement on the ice from Butt. Whatever was said to him clearly worked. Brooksy, Schofield, Hamalainen, Petone, Bjorklund and Butt stand out for me. I don't think I could argue with a lot of the names she's put out. Brooksy, Schofield, Hamalainen, Petone, Bjorklund and Butt. But still having his brain farts in defence. I mean, that hasn't really gone away, and I don't think it ever will. So, you know, you could there's maybe a couple of players you could add to that list. Some people saying, for example, for Stephen, that Petone's been a disappointment so far. What's your thoughts on Petone?
I don't know. I've not seen him enough, but I've seen people say that. Like, I've seen people say he's great, and I've seen people say, "Oh no, when's he got to turn up?" But I think we went over it last week. He's racking up the points just now, so he must be doing something right. But people were saying this about Shattuck at the beginning of the season as well, that he looks like he's never skated before, and I just saw him making space, scoring goals. So maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm watching the wrong games or something. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a nightmare and I've been going to Caps games by accident or something like that whole season. But no, it's a strange one. He's just seems to be really splitting the fan base just now, and that nobody can really agree on what he brings to the team.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this sort of thing before, as you say, Stephen, Jennifer. I think it's maybe taken just a few games to get into the groove. Now, for me, you know, sometimes you just see that class, and you see him making space. I mean, he has started scoring goals and providing assists. The line he has with Schofield and Brooks, he seems to be clicking. I think maybe he was heralded